Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. In this video I want to focus on a really nice aspect of 3D printing toys, which is scalability. You know, the toys I designed are originally in 1/35 scale, and as small as their scale already is, with the idea of having larger vehicles, of course they can be massive, and this might pose a limit to people who don't have bigger 3D printers. So what can you do about it? If you like small toys, and especially miniatures, you can simply scale down your 3D files. And if you have a limited space or so, this is a fantastic hobby. Think of it like the model kits of planes, tanks, ships and so on. Like planes, I think, are usually 172, or the most common scale is 172. And what I have here is the toys in 160 scale. Maybe you remember a few years ago I released a limited edition of the pocket mech kits. They were 187 scale, and after the release I experimented a little bit with the scalability of the action figures, and unfortunately the scale was much too small to have posable action figures. But what I found out is that 160 scale is still working very well. You might not be too familiar with 160 scale, I think it's not very common, but if you know, for example, the Diaclone reboot series by Tomy, they are 160 scale. You have these like really nice sets of big mechs, big vehicles, and you have these small action figures. Now what's really cool is that the action figures actually work quite well at 160 scale. Like, they're really tiny. As you can see, they're roughly 3 centimeters in height, but they have full posability. Like, you have everything that the 1/35 scale action figures have, down to the posable feet. You can also take the helmets off. You have the accessories that work at that scale, and this is just a very simple paint with a slight wash to see some more of the detailed sculpt, but it works pretty well. And here's another example, like even the transparent resin printed visor of the helmet works pretty well actually. So it's basically the same, just tiny. And the beauty about this is there's not much work involved. Here is the vertical STL print file, the runner I offer for the action figures, and you can just take this into your slicer and scale it down. So from 135 to 160 you have to scale down the files to 58.33%, and then you get this exact scale, and you don't have to do anything else, just scale them down, print them, and it works perfectly. Like even the small accessories, you get the helmet, the guns and everything. And what's really cool about the scale is, as I said, that it completely retains all functionality. Like the whole posability is there. You have all the functioning gadgets on the vehicles. For example, this here is the Sparrow variant of the Peregrine space fighter jet. The Sparrow is this long-range reconnaissance vehicle. You have the nice double-seated cockpit. You have the posable action figures in there. Even the helmet visors on the small action figures work. There's these air brakes or compartments for electronics if you want to fit them with LED lights or sound or whatever. You have the working retractable landing gear. You have, of course, the retractable missile base. Everything works perfectly normal, like with the 1/35 scale versions, the retractable front cannons. So it's really nice, and you get this super fine detail on the 160 scale prints. They scale down perfectly nice. All you have to do is take the pre-supported Cheetobox files and export them as STLs, including the support structures. You can export them in Cheetobox to an STL file from a Cheetobox file, and then you just re-import the exported STL files, and then you have the support structures included, and then you can just take the whole model and scale it down to 58.33%, and then you get the 160 scale. Another example is the Orca, the mech carrier slash multi-purpose carrier, same as the original model, but if you remember the video I showed of the Orca carrier, it's quite huge. It's I think almost 50 centimeter in length, and requires quite a huge cabinet if you want to display it in your collection. But here you have it in 1/60 scale with exactly the same functionality. You have all the little detail, you have the opening doors to the cockpit on both sides, you have the pilot action figure sitting in there, you have the sliding pilot seats, the fold out entrance ladder for your pilots, and of course the retractable landing gear, including the retractable VTOL engines. It's all in one go. This works pretty well, even in 1/60 scale, like even with the super tiny small parts. I recommend to choose a really good tough resin. In this case I printed the gear mechanisms with the new Resione Tough 74 V2. So that's the latest Tough 74 version. I found out that it's a super suitable resin for this purpose. There doesn't seem to be any parts warping or deformation, which is great, especially for mechanical parts, for functional parts. So that worked pretty well. And I quickly want to show you the actual main feature, which is the possibility to carry a mech. And I also printed one of our 135 scale mechs in 160 scale, downscaled it to 160, and you have exactly the same functionality as with the original 135 scale mechs, like all the posability down to the fingers. You can also take off the individual armor parts like this, exchange them, mix them with other designs. That's all possible. I'm gonna quickly put this into the cargo bay. So to show you how this looks in 160. I really like the 135 scale, the original 135 scale, but I have to admit these super tiny toys, they have sort of like something that's, I don't know, it's super fascinating. Sometimes it reminds me, you know, in the old days when we used to collect these matchbox cars, like these super small die cast, very detailed, very accurate models of toy cars. That's kind of a fascinating toy line. Or the micro machines, I think they were also matchbox, if I remember correctly. So there's something to these tiny toys that really fascinates me till today. This is just a possibility to get more out of your hobby, I would say. Like a huge collection of these tiny action figures, fully functional, fully posable, like your own personal mini vehicle fleet, whatever. Yeah, it's really nice. I wanted to show this to you just to give you an idea of how this works, how well this actually works. I like these tiny figures and the possibilities you have on this really crazy small scale. It's miniature scale. So I hope that's an idea for you. If you like to go ahead and give it a try, it's really quite easy. There's not much effort to it, and it's a lot of fun. I hope you liked this video. If you did so, please leave a like and subscribe, and I'm looking forward to see you again on the channel. Bye, until next time.